From our planet to our nation, this is We and Bharat.
All right, let's get into it. We're about to take on the biggest story there is. This isn't just a journey of 1,000 miles. We're talking about a 13.8 billion year trip back in time. We're going to see the chaos, the violence, and, well, the beautiful origin of our home, planet Earth.
You see, our story, it doesn't start with dirt and water like you might think. No, it begins somewhere impossible, a moment of just pure potential way back before the cosmic clock even started ticking. So try to picture this. Before the first star ever lit up, before light even existed, before space itself, there was nothing. But here's the crazy part. Inside that absolute nothingness was the tiny seed of everything that would ever exist.
It's a concept that honestly kind of breaks your brain if you think about it too much. Imagine all the galaxies, every star, every planet, you, me, everything, crushed down into a single point smaller than an atom. Infinitely hot, infinitely dense. I mean, the sheer impossibility of it is what makes it so unbelievably fascinating, right?
Now, a state like that, so unstable, so impossible, it just can't last. So the big question is, what happens next? What happens when all of that creative potential is finally unleashed?
Well, in one single, unimaginable moment, the wait is over. The universe is born.
Now get this. This wasn't an explosion in space like you might picture. It was the explosion of space itself. That little singularity didn't just burst, it unfurled. It stretched the very fabric of reality, creating space and time as it went. And that's what we call the Big Bang.
In the very first fraction of a second, the universe was just this seething, blindingly bright soup of pure energy. I mean, forget atoms, forget particles. This was just raw, untamed power, hotter than anything we can possibly imagine.
But as this insane expansion kept going, the universe started to cool down. And as it cooled, something pretty miraculous happened. That pure energy began to congeal, almost like it was crystallizing. And it formed the very first subatomic particles, the fundamental building blocks of all matter.
Okay, so those first 3 minutes were an absolute frenzy of creation. You have the Big Bang at instant zero. Then, within the first second, the fundamental forces that basically run everything, we're talking gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces, they just snap into place. And get this, by the time we hit the 3-minute mark, the first, simplest atomic nuclei are already formed, mostly hydrogen and helium. These are the basic ingredients the entire cosmos is going to be built from.
So for millions of years after that, the universe was just dark, filled with these enormous, drifting clouds of simple gases. But there was this silent, incredibly patient force at work, kind of sculpting the darkness. And that force was gravity.
It's really a pretty simple idea, right? Anything that has mass pulls on everything else that has mass. So, really slowly, really patiently, gravity just started pulling these giant clouds of hydrogen and helium together, forming bigger and denser clumps.
And when those clumps got dense enough and hot enough, poof, they ignited. The very first stars lit up the cosmic darkness. And inside their fiery hearts, through nuclear fusion, they started cooking up heavier elements, things like carbon, oxygen, iron. Just stop and think about that for a second. Every single element in your body, except for that basic hydrogen, was forged inside one of these stellar furnaces. It's not just a saying. We are literally made of stardust.
Of course, these stars weren't just hanging out by themselves. Gravity was still at work, gathering them up, along with huge clouds of gas and dust, into these absolutely colossal, swirling structures we call galaxies. And they come in all sorts of breathtaking shapes and sizes. You've got the majestic spirals, the huge kind of blob-like ellipticals, and even these beautiful, chaotic, irregular ones.
And yep, you guessed it, we live in one of them, our home. The Milky Way. It's this huge spiral galaxy, like a cosmic city with billions of stars and tons of gas and dust. It's pretty humbling when you think about just how enormous our cosmic neighborhood really is.
Okay, now let's zoom in, like way, way in. Fast forward to about 4.6 billion years ago. In a quiet, pretty unremarkable arm of the Milky Way, a whole new story was just getting started. This is the birth of our very own solar system.
So,
how did it happen? Well, our local story kicked off when a giant cloud of gas and dust, basically the leftovers from an ancient exploded star, started to collapse in on itself thanks to gravity. Most of that stuff got packed together to form our sun. The rest flattened out into this big spinning disk. And inside that disk, little particles started sticking together. We call it accretion. They grew from tiny pebbles to big boulders, then into things we call planetismals, kind of like baby planets, and eventually into the planets we know and love today. And right there in the middle of all of it, our young sun just blazed to life. Its surface was burning at a staggering 6,000 degrees Celsius. This was the engine that was going to power the whole new system.
And in this brand new system, one of those new worlds was ours. But listen, the early Earth was not the gentle blue marble we see in pictures today. Oh no, it was a complete hellscape. A planet literally being forged in violence and absolute chaos.
Geologists actually have a name for this time, the Hadean Eon. And yeah, it's named after Hades, the underworld, for a very good reason. Earth's surface was just a molten ocean of lava. It was constantly being slammed by asteroids and comets, all the leftovers from the solar system's formation. And volcanoes? They were erupting everywhere, just spewing gas and rock.
And the atmosphere that came from all those volcanoes, it was a toxic cocktail. We're talking carbon dioxide, water vapor, nitrogen. Totally unbreathable. It's just a world away from the oxygen-rich air we need to survive. An atmosphere, by the way, that wouldn't even exist until life itself showed up and started changing the planet.
But eventually, that constant bombardment of asteroids started to slow down, and the planet finally began to cool off a bit. All that water vapor trapped in the toxic atmosphere started to condense and fall as rain. And I don't mean a quick shower. We are talking about a torrential, planet-wide rainstorm that lasted for centuries. And that rain is what formed the very first oceans, all within the first 500 million years of Earth's life.
So, with liquid water now on the scene, the chaos finally started to die down. The molten planet had cooled. The stage was officially set for what would be the most profound chapter in our planet's entire history.
I mean, the timeline for life to show up is just staggering. Around 4 billion years ago, Earth finally gets stable enough for complex chemistry to start happening in those new oceans. Then, by about 3.8 billion years ago, we see the very first tentative signs of life, just simple single-celled organisms. But then, around 3 billion years ago, something revolutionary happens: photosynthesis. Life figured out how to use sunlight for energy, and it started pumping out oxygen as a waste product. This was the beginning of a slow, deliberate process of life itself, terraforming our entire world.
So from a single point of infinite density, through cosmic fire and unimaginable chaos, our world was born. It's an incredible story of transformation, written across billions and billions of years. And it leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? What's the next chapter in this story?
Thank you for watching. Join us on this journey with nature and Bharat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.